Hi, and welcome to this edition of Inside Leesburg. Inside Leesburg is designed to connect you with our hometown. Today we're sitting down with City Commissioner Dan Robuck. Today we're sort of taking a quarterly update in regards to what's happening here in Leesburg. A lot of good, exciting things, Dan.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's going on. We've got some new businesses coming in, and the mall's really redeveloping nicely, and we're really excited about that.
Before we get to the mall, actually, my crew was actually down on Main Street, and we tried one of the local restaurants that just opened up, a Sips restaurant.
Right.
And it's great to see. I mean, standing room only, need reservations. I mean, it's a great sort of revitalization, and Main Street isn't even done yet.
Yeah, I know, it's great. Sip, and then we have Dandy's, the new sandwich shop downtown. Both of those came in as a result of us waiving impact fees on redevelopments. So because they were existing businesses there and buildings, they didn't have to pay impact fees, which is a special waiver that the City Commission did. That really helped them. I know for Dandy's that saved them $8,000, and that was kind of the difference in them being able to afford it and not afford it. And we're not really losing out because they're not creating a new impact. The
Right.
roads, the sewer, everything's already there because it's an existing business. So it made a lot of sense, and has really helped get some exciting things going on.
Well, I know the crew orders lunch there all the time. The great sandwiches.
Great.
But the mall, some exciting things happening over there. Some new signage. I mean, I know business relationships in regards to the mall and all these local businesses is very important to the commission. Give us an update on the mall.
Yeah. So the mall, it was purchased first at an auction by a company out of New York, but they quickly turned around and sold it to a company called Viaport, which is out of Turkey. And this is their first U.S. property. They're a big-time company. You look at the malls they've done in Turkey; they're
beautiful.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I mean, they're unlike anything we have anywhere here in the U.S. They're super high-end, and they want this to be their flagship property right here in Leesburg. So, we're getting some money, some foreign investment here in Leesburg, which is great. And we had to be a little flexible. For instance,
Right.
our sign ordinance was a little bit restrictive for someone that big. They got 60-something tenants, and so we made some changes based on their size, and they're putting in a big LED lit sign. And part of that, though, because we let them have more signage, we're requiring them to do a big entrance. So we're gonna have a nice fountain when you walk in, and they've already redone the fountain inside, but then outside there'll be a water feature and some landscaping, and it's really going to look nice.
Is it true that I think I've heard some rumors in the sense that there's going to actually be sort of like an exterior sort of mall, some sort of restaurants, and some sort of a destination for actually families that want to go there also?
Yeah, so that's part of the presentation they gave the commission. I mean, nothing's set in stone on their end yet. They haven't gone through the full plan unit development process, but they gave us some conceptual drawings, and they apparently have some interest from actual tenants where there would be a ring of kind of restaurants, some higher end stuff outside around the closer to the road, and then they talked about a professional level bowling center there that they would attract tournaments from all over the country, and that would also though be open to the public as well. And then I was talking to the Beacon College president the other day, and he said, that's interesting because he actually, one of his goals is to get an NCAA tournament in Leesburg, and bowling is an NCAA sport, and I didn't realize it, but he was the president of one of the, I guess, of the NCAA at one point in time, and he has all these connections, and so, we'll see what happens, but
anything for the youth, anything for the community, I think it's awesome.
I mean, bring people in, stay in hotels, spend money in restaurants, it's great for Leesburg.
Well, it's so very exciting because, like I said, Lake Square Malls has sort of been sitting there as an entity, so to finally see it be revitalized and have it as a destination for families is very exciting. I haven't been inside. Have you been inside the mall recently? I haven't been there lately.
I haven't been in. I've seen some of the pictures on Facebook of the new fountain, and they're looks like they're making a lot of progress. And it's no longer the Lake Square Mall. They took the sign off last week.
What's the new official name?
So I'm not sure if it's going to be called. I mean, Viaport's the company, but I don't know if they've decided on a name. When they spoke before the commission, they hadn't come up with a name yet, but the Lake Square Mall's name's gone, and understandably so. It didn't have the best reputation, especially over the last 10 years. So they're going to rebrand it. They're working with AMC to try to get them to come in and renovate the movie theaters. Of course, that's not up to them, but it seems like they're spending a lot of money out there, and that's great for Leesburg.
Have the investors been to Leesburg yet? Have they visited the town? Have they visited the mall yet? I mean, I'm just kind of curious. Have they been here locally?
So they have it scheduled. My understanding is they haven't actually been here yet since they initially bought the property.
Okay.
When they bought the property, they did come in, and the city sent Mike Rankin, the assistant city manager in economic development, director, and then I think Bill Wiley, who's planning and zoning, out to just talk to them about kind of the process, what we would be willing to do as a city, and that was big for them. They liked that they could just meet with two people that could give them all the answers, tell them what they needed to do, and that we were willing to work with them. And I know that the plan is they wanted to get the sign in and some of the entrance features before the actual owners came in, so they could kind of see the progress.
I'm imagining big and wonderful things for that mall.
Yeah, I think it's got a really bright future out there.
Coors Lab.
Yeah, Coors Lab.
They've exploded out of Orange County. They've exploded from other states, and here they are coming to Lake County. Tell us about this excitement.
So Coors Lab, they're an international company. They've got locations all over the U.S., actually based in Canada, and they make prefabricated concrete, similar to what Durstress, a Lake County company, also does, a little bit different. And they're going to be relocating to the 470 property that Leesburg owns, which is out near the Turnpike. It's going to bring in 55 jobs. They're relocating from Orange County, where they were landlocked and didn't have room to expand. And the 55 jobs is the initial number. They have additional property and an option to buy some more that hopefully long term they're going to expand and maybe even move their U.S. headquarters here, potentially, if things work well. And that was another scenario where the staff, with the city manager, Al, and Mike, and then in this case they worked with the county, with Adam Sumner at the county, and the Board of County Commissioners. Tim Sullivan was very involved, and were able to address some concerns with some road issues and some utility easement issues, and they just kind of all worked together and were able to just get it done and let them know that you can break ground, we can get you in here fast. It's not going to be a 2-year process, and that this is an easy place to do business. When
you were here last, Commissioner, you actually shared the contract when that was signed, so it's really exciting to see that come into fruition.
It is, and then another fact is, a lot of people don't realize how big of an airport we have. They drive by it, but we're an international airport. We have customs here, and this company actually flew directly from Canada when they were here. We're able to clear customs right here in Leesburg. And not many communities, certainly not many communities of Leesburg size, can offer that type of convenience. So the airport played another big role in landing this company.
Any other upcoming sort of advancements with the 470 property? Any more other companies that are looking at the property? Or my understanding is there are about 3 or 4 that are out there looking at it, and that we're kind of on a short list of sites. But they're through site selectors, so we don't know who they are. We'll get some general details about their manufacturing, their logistics, how many jobs, but we're not far enough along the process to really know a lot of details. But we are getting a lot of serious inquiries and people that are really interested in coming out there. So I think we're going to see good things in the future out there. I think it'll continue to rapidly develop. Well, exciting to think that Lake County, a lot of people think of Florida, Central Florida, as a destination for retirees. So to see companies coming in and bringing in potential jobs and enticing other companies, Florida doesn't have to be just a retirement state. It could be a great state, for folks in the sense of having a career and having a great industry.
And that's what we want. We want people to live here, that they work here, that we've got good paying jobs, they send their kids to school here, and that are involved in the community, and jobs are kind of the first thing. People aren't going to move here if they can't get a job. So.
How far along is Coors Lab? When is there are they in the construction stage right now? Or?
So they have a little bit longer to close on the contract. We're doing some surveying, and there were a few things the city had to do, but as soon as they close, which I believe is in 30 or 60 days, something like that they're wanting to start, break ground right away and get in as quickly as possible.
Well, I know you have a lot more to kind of connect with our viewers in regards to what's taking place here in Leesburg, so don't go anywhere. We have a couple more minutes to go with you, I believe, but right now we're going to toss the break. We'll be right back with City Commissioner Dan Robuck. Hi, welcome back to Inside Leesburg. We're sitting down with City Commissioner Dan Robuck with sort of a quarterly update on what's taking place here in our hometown, Leesburg. All right, I know we want to talk about the electric company. I know this isn't a topic that people want to talk about, but I believe it's something that you're very passionate about in regards to the finances, the city.
Yeah, everyone wants to complain about it, certainly, because their electric bills are too high, and they're right. First of all, I think it's important when people look at their electric bills that, especially when they compare it to people who are like on Duke Power. When people get their Duke Power bill, they look at it, and that's their electric bill, because that's all that's on the bill. When you get your City of Leesburg electric bill, you have water, and you have gas, and you have electric.
So the whole party pack.
Yeah, it's all. So a lot of times people look at the very bottom and say, oh, power bill is twice as much as my friend who's on Duke. Well, no, there's a lot of other stuff in it.
Okay.
Now, that being said, their electric bill is higher than Duke, even when you look just at the electric component. And in fact, we're in the unfortunate situation where in Leesburg, we have the second highest power bill electric rate in the entire state of Florida. And that's not a good thing. It is hard on families, and it's hard on businesses, and it hurts us in recruiting businesses. Now, we are fortunate, we talked about the 470 property. Leesburg actually doesn't supply the power there. Duke does, so they get a lower rate. So from that standpoint, you know, we're good. But we need to really focus on reducing our electric rate here. And the way that's come about has come about over many, many years. Part of it was the city's fault. Part of it was not the city's fault. A lot of things go into that rate. The city's fault is we've been taking money out of it to pay for everything else that the city does. And a lot of things are good, like this TV station. It's good, but the electric department pays for it, and that's probably not good. They pay for police, they pay for fire, they pay for a lot of things. We don't raise enough through property taxes because we have a pretty low tax base in terms of property values in Leesburg. And the other part of it that's not fair for the electric to fund all of our city government is that some residents in Leesburg don't have Leesburg Electric. They have Duke Power, and so they're not paying. And then the other side of that is some residents that don't live in Leesburg have Leesburg Power, so those people don't live in Leesburg, and yet they're helping to fund our services. So it's something we really got to get a hold of. We've got to get a competitive rate. You know, we don't have to have the lowest rate in the state, but we need to at least be in the middle. And
how do we get there?
How do we get there? Yeah, that is the big question.
How do we get there?
You know, we basically need to come up with about $2.5 million a year is what we need to take to quit having the electric department fund the city. Is about $2.5 million a year, and that gets us kind of where we need to be. So, you know, how do we do that? That's the big question. So you could raise property taxes. People, you know, we don't want to raise property taxes. We're kind of right in the middle where our property tax rate is. So it's not like we have a super low rate to start with. The other thing, and it's been given in the news a lot lately, is a fire assessment fee. So a fire assessment fee, which, while we call it an assessment fee, it's a tax. Everyone knows that. It's going to be on their tax bill. What that does is it assesses properties based on how much. We do a study and look at how much are we paying to fight fires in Leesburg, and it's $3 million. And then there's based on how many of those calls go to residences and how many go to commercial and how many go to institutions, we come up with a fee that kind of prorates that number. And so then that money would pay for fire service, and then we would take less electric money to pay for fire. But of course, you know, that's a big cost. In fact, on the mall, you know, talk about new tenants, it's $90,000 a year for the mall. That's a lot of money, especially being that the flip side is their electric would go down. In that case, maybe by more than $90,000, but because they rent out, in a lot of cases, the tenants get the benefit where the owner pays the fee. So that's a downside to the fee. But if we don't want to do the third thing, which is tackle some spending, then it's got to come through tax or fee. Certainly my preference is that we would tackle some spending, but to do that we have to make some kind of unpleasant choices.
Well, and the other thing that we were actually talking about earlier is in regards to, you know, a lot of folks don't realize, is it a better chance of possibly better using our resources, like every time an ambulance goes out, a firefighter, a fire truck has to go out. I mean, that's a lot of added expense right there. So what are your thoughts on that in the sense of better resourcing some of these services?
It is. And a lady, I can't remember her name, the last commission meeting brought that up. You know, she mentioned that her husband had a heart attack, and the ambulance came, and the fire truck came, and unfortunately he passed away. But she said, I didn't need the fire truck there. Why did they come? And the reason they come is that we also provide EMS. So I said we spend $3 million fighting fire. Well, our fire department costs us about $5.5 million a year. The other $2.5 million is for EMS, which is certainly a very needed service. You have to have EMS. The problem is the county provides EMS, and the way it works, when you provide emergency medical services, you get reimbursed. You get reimbursed by either Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance, or the person individually if they have none of those three options. but you can't get reimbursed unless you transport. So unless you're running an ambulance like the county does, you don't get it paid for it. So right now, if there's an incident, you call 911 and it's in Leesburg, the county's going to send the ambulance with their EMS. We're going to send fire with our EMS. And if we get there first, is there a benefit? Absolutely. Yeah. Because maybe we would get there first. But at the end of the day, the county's the one getting paid for it, as they should, because they transport to the hospital. We can't transport to the hospital. We don't have that option because we're not an ambulance service. And it's one of these things where two people are doing the same thing. One's getting paid, and at some point, either more taxes or we have to talk about cutting services. And I think that's a discussion that needs to be had. Do we want to further burden businesses and residences with taxes, or do we look at eliminating duplication of services?
Some hard decisions.
Absolutely. There are no easy answers.
You've been on the commission now for several months.
Yes.
Exciting or happy? I mean, taking that role on, it sounds like it's a lot of responsibility and decisions that is put on the city commission.
It's interesting, and I enjoy it, but unfortunately, we're not. Leesburg's not a city that's flush with cash. We're not going to be flush with cash soon, and part of that goes to if we do a fire assessment fee. If that's the way we decide to raise money, it's important that we take that money back, because we can do anything we want to with it. We don't have to reduce electric rates. We could raise $2.5 million and decide that we're going to spend it every year on projects. And I'd like to do some projects in Leesburg. There's a lot of things that we would be great to invest in. But until we get our electric rates under control, where we don't have the second highest in the state, which incidentally, if we don't do anything, there's a scheduled 5% increase, we'll put us at the highest in the state. We really can't start thinking about spending that money. We need to first focus on kind of getting our house in order, making sure that our utility is run like a utility, and that we lower that burden on everyone that is paying that. What
would the fire assessment be? What are they looking at? Is it $100 or $150 per family?
So the max for a residence would be $155. It could be less than that. That's the max that they could assess. Commercial, we're looking at, I believe, off the top of my head, it's like 16 cents a square foot. And then there's a warehouse industrial rate that's lower. And there's an institutional rate, and institutions would be the hospital, Beacon, some of the nonprofits. And those fees can get big. Like I said, the mall is $90,000 a year. Some of the other shopping centers would be a lot of money.
So you're saying about there are some projects that you'd like to see come to Leesburg. Before we finish up, what are those projects in the back of your mind?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is to continue at Venetian Gardens, and it'd be great if we could just ramp that up, and we could put in a new pool, and we could do something with the community building, and we could really develop that area, add some more park features to the natural landscaping. But as much as I want that, I think we need to do it a little bit at a time. Right. Over maybe a 10-year time frame, instead of because to do it all we need about $10 million, maybe $15 million, and we're not going to have that soon.
It'd be great to see Venetian Gardens come back to what it was in its heyday, wouldn't
it? It would be great. It would be great, and we could use more recreational facilities, certainly.
Well, I was speaking to Parks and Rec. Actually, Travis and Parks and Recreation were talking about possibly even bringing some paddle boating, the paddle boating, and all these great recreations, kayaking for the community, to see families come there and really enjoy the resource.
Yeah, and that's something we could do tomorrow without spending any money. A lot of people don't know, but the city of Leesburg owns and operates a marina, which is bit odd. Most cities don't own and operate marinas.
And Tavares got a seaplane community, right?
They do. But to me, that's an area where we should probably put out a bid, and let's find a marina operator to come in and run it. And they would pay the city to run it, and you'd put in the RFP that we want you to rent out canoes and paddleboards and kayaks, and I have no doubt that if a private business were running that marina, that stuff would have already happened. There'd be a restaurant there. But the city, it's just not what cities do. Marinas are generally privately run, and I think while the people that are over there with the city do a great job with their limited scope that they're allowed. They're not allowed to just go out and start doing things. You know, that's like a private enterprise would. They're doing a good job with what they've been tasked with doing. I think you'd see a lot more opportunities and services out there if we were to turn that over to a private company.
It's always a pleasure.
Likewise,
You're always welcome
thank you.
back. Thank you so much for connecting us. What's taking place? A lot of good things, right?
Yeah, a lot of good things.
Very
I'm real excited about the future. Thank you.
Sounds great. Until next time, please follow us on lakefronttv.com and also be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, get out there and enjoy our hometown.